Hello everyone, welcome back. So, I saw M3gan, the new horror movie by Blumhouse, and from the trailers I thought this movie was going to be awful. Like, it just kind of looked terrible to me. I thought it looked like a soulless, lazy cash grab. But, you know, reviews started to come in and people seemed to like it. So, you know, I wasn't having no expectations going into this. And I'm just going to rip the band-aid off and just say it. I didn't like M3gan. I heard someone say in response to me not liking it that it's okay because it was a satire, and I was just going into it wrong. I'm sorry, but no, I went in with full knowledge of it being a comedy and a satire, and that's one of my biggest problems with it. Satire humor can be funny when it's done right, but I just don't think it was done right here. I personally also had the complaint that the characters are extremely unlikable and annoying, to which a response was exactly. Listen. Purposely unlikable characters can work. A lot of the times they do work. Just look at my favourite movies. The Breakfast Club, everyone sucks in that movie, but it's easy to root for them and they're entertaining to watch. Tusk, same story. And pretty much every slasher movie ever made, like The Hills Have Eyes, Friday the 13th, they all have unlikable characters, but they're still entertaining to watch. With M3gan, the characters just are annoying. No character is fun to watch. M3gan herself was a pretty fun villain, I can admit, but it just didn't really grab me. One thing I will say though is that this movie is way better than the trailers made it seem. There are parts of this movie that I really liked. Some of the humor I thought was really funny. And also I'd like to add that this is a far better movie than the one it's ripping off. I hate the Child's Play remake. For me at least, it's one of the worst horror remakes I've ever seen, at least for personal reasons, which maybe I'll make a full video about at some point maybe. And it's no secret that this movie is a big ripoff, or at least taking a lot from that film. And while I don't think this was a very good movie, I can say it's far better than that piece of shit. And I can firmly say that this is definitely not a cash grab. I think the people working on this film really did care about it. And that's what I can say about most, if not all, Blumhouse movies. Even if they have a bit of a mixed output in my opinion. Now this is a new movie, so I won't spoil the whole plot for you, but I will say some light spoilers ahead. So in the beginning of the movie, this little girl Katie gets into a car accident and her parents die, and she's sent to her aunt who takes care of her. However, she's obviously not ready to. She works for a company who make robotic toys, so she begins developing M3gan, an android who's made to protect Katie, basically to be a parental figure for her. And as soon as this starts working, she's like, ooh, capitalism, and they plan to sell them to the public. And I will say there was a really good scene where Katie and M3gan are taken for a presentation for the CEO, who, by the way, I may have misheard while watching and I can't find anything online, but I swear that the CEO's name was said and it was David Lynch. Yeah, that David Lynch. Anyway, so this is a good scene because when M3gan comes in, Katie begins crying and laments about her parents, and M3gan comforts her by assuring that she won't forget her parents by storing audios of stories. And we see how her grief is exploited for the company and her aunt. So because of M3gan's programming and her aunt's bullshit, M3gan goes on a killer rampage on the company and the aunt. So I think M3gan works as a pretty good killer, but I won't praise it too much. The humor is very corny, which at times works really well because I love corny humor, but some of the lines here are just badly timed and a little bit too quippy. Like there's a terrible moment where M3gan says a line that's pulled straight from Shrek.
This is the part where you run.
This is the part where you run away.
And I'm sorry, but the fucking dance scene is the cringiest shit. But you know, there is some funny corny moments. There's this one scene where she rips this kid's ear off and it extends like 6 inches out, and it looks super cartoonish. And I actually thought that was really funny. And quite possibly my favourite scene is when the aunt comes in and M3gan's just playing piano like she's fucking Dracula. But of course, there is this fair share of quippy Marvel humor. Now, I get that the aunt is intended to be a bad person. I mean, that's the whole reason M3gan starts killing. But like, I don't feel like she got a satisfying character arc or anything. And I just think she's unpleasant to watch for most of the movie. Now, what I do quite like is that Katie has some parts where she's also annoying, especially when she's separated from M3gan. But weirdly, I think it's done in a very interesting way. Katie is psychologically attached to M3gan after the loss of her parents. She sees it less as a toy and more of a part of her, which was pretty interesting. Overall, this isn't a terrible movie. It's not even that bad, but I just didn't connect with it, and I can't say I was exactly impressed. I think this film tried some really interesting things, and some of the ideas it brings definitely had loads of potential, but I guess I just didn't really like the outcome too much. AI horror movies just don't really appeal to me all that much. Once again, I think maybe the idea can be pretty cool, and one day maybe we'll have a great AI horror movie. I haven't seen that many of them, but you know, maybe I'll see one that'll impress me. However, I will say that the character of Megan had way more personality than a lot of AI horror movies. Like, the Chucky in the Child's Play remake is one of the most, like, the biggest insults to Brad Dourif's Chucky you can possibly imagine, because the original Chucky is just so full of character and just funny. But, I mean, come on. You got Mark Hamill doing this really weird voice that did not work at all for me, and it's just boring. He says this is for Tupac, and that's like the funniest thing he says in the entire film. Anyway, goodbye.